Throughout the day, we have had the pleasure of hearing about some extraordinary journeys. We have invited our last keynote speaker to share with us his amazing journey, one that few artists have had the opportunity to make, and even fewer of Pakistani origin, and that is to be a Hollywood movie star. Farhan Tahir is a third-generation Pakistani-American actor who has shown his talents equally in film, TV, and theatre, some of which include, as you all probably are aware of, Star Trek and Iron Man. This year, he can be seen in 4 movies: The Escape Plan with Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Elysium with Matt Damon and Jodie Foster, Torn, and Jin. Farhan Tahir is the recipient of many awards, including the 2010 Anoki Male Actor of the Year Award in Canada, as well as the 2010 Elite Asian Award. He completed his graduate training in theatre at Harvard University and holds a BA from the University of California, Berkeley. And rather than for me to continue to read out his very extensive list of achievements, I would like to share with you a reel of great acting clips of Farhan Tahir.
Hello. My commander requests the presence of your captain. In order to negotiate a ceasefire and come aboard our ship in his shuttlecraft. Refusal would be unwise.
Walk with me. The pilot will report in 15 minutes. Evacuate the crew. The rest will look for us out here. Use autopilot. Get off this ship.
Aye, Captain.
You're captain now, Mr. Kirk.
Start rates elevated.
Check the motion of the mount.
Look at this ship. Are you familiar with this craft?
Who's the commander? Lieutenant?
I will speak for Captain Nero.
Then ask Captain Nero what gives him the right to attack a Federation vessel.
location of Ambassador Spock.
I'm unfamiliar with Ambassador Spock.
What is the current star date?
Stardate. 223304. Very strong. Relax. The bow and arrow once was the pinnacle of weapons technology. It allowed the great Genghis Khan to rule from the Pacific to the Ukraine, an empire twice the size of Alexander the Great, and 4 times the size of the Roman Empire. But today, whoever holds the latest stock weapons rules these lands. And soon, it'll be my turn. आपस में क्या होगा?
कुछ नहीं चला सर।
बहुत वक्त गुजर गया। हथियार कहाँ?
बहुत मेहनत कर रहा है लेकिन मुश्किल काम है।
घटना पर साफ साफ बताओ, यहाँ क्या होगा?
कुछ भी नहीं है।
मुझे बेवकूफ समझते हो? साफ साफ बताओ, यहाँ क्या हो रहा है? अभी बताओ।
आपका जरा को
अभी बताओ।
आपका जरा
अभी बताओ।
जरा को भी
I need him. Persistent. You have to tomorrow to assemble my missile.
And now for the man himself, all the way from California, Farhan Tahir.
See, I'm not as big as that would make me look, but whatever. You just get to deal with me now. Is this working?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, that's much better. So, a few weeks ago, I received an invitation to speak here, and you can't imagine my delight. I was really humbled and honored that I was asked to speak here. So first of all, I must thank all of you for inviting me here, because I truly, truly think this is amazing. Although I'm here to share some of my journey with you, my trials and tribulations as an actor, but I can't help but think that everyone in this room has an amazing journey and has a story to tell. And I will try to give you my story, and I will try to not make it into a Farhan Tahir infomercial as much as I possibly can. I want to start by talking about my family a bit. And I'm not speaking about my family because I boast about them, although I am truly, truly, truly inspired by what they've done. I want to speak about them because they have been a real inspiration in my life. They have been people who have never shied away from new frontiers. I am a third-generation actor. My family has been in this profession, you can call it profession, this field, for 3 generations in arts and literature. My great-grandparents were the people who decided in those days that there needed to be a magazine for women. And they published the first magazine for women in India. This was 1998, and my great-grandmother was the editor of it. They also published the first magazine for children called Pool at the same time. My grandfather, Sayyid Imtiaz Ali Taj, was a prolific playwright, and one of his plays was the most produced play in South Asia, Anarkali. My grandmother, Hijab Imtiaz Ali, also wrote many books, was translated in many languages. She was also one of the first pilots in the British Empire. My parents, again, it sounds like I'm boasting, but there's a reason why I'm telling you this. They named Tahir and Yasmin Tahir. They're both actors, directors, writers. And they have been my inspiration because it has always been taught to me not to shy away from challenges, because it pushes us in that zone of discomfort where we need to do better than what we think what we can. And it is an important lesson to learn in life. I was born in Los Angeles when my parents were at UCLA getting their degrees in performing arts. I moved back to Pakistan with them when I was a baby. I got my early education in Pakistan and in England. Moved back to Pakistan and eventually moved to the US to go to college. I wanted to study economics and business. I went to University of California, Berkeley. And while I was at Berkeley, something strange happened. Although the charms of the econ department are unparalleled, I kept finding myself hanging out with the theater crowd. And I started to realize that my heart and mind were in 2 different places. The logical side of me wanted to do something which would secure my future, business, economics. But my heart wanted something else. It wanted to pursue something with passion. It wanted to pursue something without having to think about any of those things which are so important to us. And eventually, my heart went out. I wrote to my parents. I thought because of their own backgrounds, they would go, rah, 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 go do it. But they were like, why? Why do you want to do this? And at that point, it was a little frustrating, I have to admit, because all you want is somebody to go, do it, do it, do it. But in retrospect, I think what they were trying to ask me was, really, why? Why do you want to do it? Is it ego? Or does it go deeper than that? What is it that makes you want to be part of this? I wrote many letters to them, many, many long letters. In those days, there were no emails, so you had to wait for the response. And eventually, I did get their blessings. And with that support, I decided to go and get my degree in theater from Harvard. And thus, my journey in theater and film and television started. And it is a journey that has had its share of, disappointments and a number of successes. It's been a hard road, I have to admit, because it is not an easy field to be in. But I've learned something. I've learned that I cannot focus on trying to be a star. I think, and I should not focus on that. I have to focus on trying to be an actor. And what that means is that you are forever a student. You're never a master. You have to make sure that you're learning all the time from everyone. Because as an actor, what are you doing? You're trying to create characters which people can identify with. And in order to do that, you have to study the human mind, the human body, the human soul, and embody it when you're asked to do that. So that's the artistic side of it. And if it was just that, life would be very simple. But it's not just that. Because I work in a profession where, unlike other professions, a mole on your face can get you a job, and that same mole on your face can make you lose the job. It is the only profession that you go into where, if you were a doctor and you went into an interview, nobody can say, well, you know what, you're a really good doctor, but you're balding, so we can't give you the job. In my profession, that could be the very reason that you're a very good actor, but you're not the look that we're looking for. So call it racism, call it whatever. It is part of the life that I've chosen to live. And it's okay. I don't mind living that life. There is a struggle in it, though. I have realized that within me lives an actor who wants to challenge himself artistically. And sometimes I achieve that challenge. Other times it has been a little bit more challenging. Sometimes characters simply have no depth because they're written that way. Some are stereotypical silhouettes. And I've struggled to build my reputation as an actor, not as an ethnic actor. And thus, the struggle comes in. How do you do that? Sometimes I have to make some very tough decisions. I have to either take the character and give it some depth, or make a statement and just walk away from it and not do it. I'll give you an example. Very early in my career, I just graduated from college, and I was asked to audition to play a storekeeper who was being held at a gunpoint. And I looked at it, and it definitely was not a comedy. So that was out, and I figured, what? I mean, if this is a Pakistani storekeeper, by the virtue of me playing it, that condition is met, that he is a Pakistani storekeeper. So I should focus on the fact that this man is being held at a gunpoint, and his life hangs in the balance. So I go into the audition, and there's the director, the producer, the casting director, and after all the pleasantries, I dive into the scene, and I think that I'm really doing a good job finding that balance, being scared and yet brave and all of that. So I get done with the scene, and I look up, and I feel kind of good about myself. And I look at the director, and the director has this pained look on his face, as if, I don't know, he's dealing with the meaning of life itself, and he gets up and he goes, that was great. But you're not being Pakistani enough. And then he proceeds to show me how to be Pakistani. Please don't be killing me. I'll be giving you everything. you know. And so what do you do with that? Like, I mean, how do you deal with that? So I sat there for a second, and then I realized that, you know what, this is not going to work out, because I can't do this, because I won't be able to live with myself. Not that there's anything wrong. I mean, are there Pakistanis? Of course there are, but that's not the point. I brought something in, and he wanted to take it in a different direction. So I looked at him and I said, you know, I completely understand what you want me to do, but I just graduated from college, and artistically, I can't make that leap at this point in my career. So I know that there are many other actors who are very talented and who can really do the job. So thank you for bringing me in, and I don't want to waste your time, and good luck with it. And I got up and I left. So, you know, so you do have those moments. But by the same token, I think life is, and times are changing. When I started, 15, 20 years ago, it was a different time. There were a handful of South Asian actors and directors, especially in the US. But we're changing that. We're slowly chipping away at this mountain. We are slowly making an impact. And that was proven to me a few years later when I went into an audition, and it was to play a basic terrorist type, right? So I go in and I do the thing, and I look up, and this time I think that I have the job, all right? So that happens, and I say my thank yous, and I walk away, and as I'm walking away, the producer goes, so what do you think about this character? And I go, oh boy. See, now he wants me to tell the truth, and that's not good for me. So I look at him and I go, you know what? It's fine. It's totally fine. I think I can do it. But if you really want to know the truth, I would like to see a character who is struggling with his identity. And that's what I would like to see. And I walked away. I didn't get the job. And I figured, you know what, whatever, I'll move on with my life. But 3 weeks later, the producer called me up. And he said, you know, what you said really, it echoed with me for a while. And based on that, I have written something, a character which is struggling with his identity. And I would love for you to come and play it for me. And it was a triumphant moment for me, because I didn't just change a man's thinking. It also changed his action, which was great. And sometimes what happens is that you take these battles on, and you know that the impact of it might not be today. But if you can put that germ in there, I think you've done your job. So we don't always have to, you guys are entrepreneurs, so we're not just looking at Q1 or Q2. We are looking at Q45. We are looking at out there that sometime, next time when this guy writes something, he might try to find the layer that is missing in these characters. So that is a struggle that, as an actor, or you want to call it ethnic actor, or whatever you want to call it, it's part of my life. Now, this is not an agenda. It's just my attempt to create and confirm an identity that is truer to ourselves, who we are. And today, we are at these crossroads in the entertainment industry. We have a choice to make. We can either accept the images that are being created of us by others, or we can actively shape these images. We're always disheartened when people, when we see people portrayed from our part of the world in a one-dimensional way. I understand that. Now, we yearn to see movies and plays and TV shows that show us in more complex ways. the issue is this, that we cannot wait for others to champion our causes. And it is not because of some nefarious intent or some hatred. It is because others can't tell our stories the way we can. We know our stories, we know our history, we know who we are, we know the struggles that we've gone through. They have only seen us in the 5-10 minutes of the exposure that we have given them at a restaurant or in a as a patient or whatever. They only know a little bit of us. They don't know all of us. So where does this responsibility lie? I'm one person who is not going to point fingers at others. I think we are the ones who cannot be complacent. We have to do this. We have to take charge of this situation. And the way to do it is not by charitable donations. I think we can make these ventures into viable, profitable enterprises. And that is where we need to go. We can't just wait for others to do it. So in closing, the only thing I will say is that whenever we or others, whenever we see them building walls, we must take the responsibility and build some bridges. Thank you.
I think we'll open the floor up for some questions. So, gentleman in the front.
Yes, so I'm live blogging your talk on my Facebook.
Oh, good God. I don't know what I said, but whatever.
I already started asking if there's a transcript, and I'm saying there's no way recording, but if I knew this was going to be so interesting and insightful, I would have recorded it.
It's being live streamed.
Yeah.
Oh, it has been. Well, there you go. There you go.
Wonderful. So my question to you is, obviously all you said about changing the images and perceptions of how people are, conveyed certain way in the media is very important. I don't know if you've been following in the last 3 to 6 months. There are some really interesting movies coming out in Pakistan.
Yes.
Some of them are English, some of them are mixed, some of them are Urdu, but something fundamental is changing.
It's changing,
in the
yeah.
movie industry.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I think it is happening, and I don't know if it's happened by accident, but when and it's not a competition, but the thing with Pakistani film industry was that for a long time we tried to make or replicate the Bollywood model. And let's be very honest, we weren't that good at it. Because we couldn't get those movies to come into our theaters, we tried to make our own. And that was a tradition. Now that Indian movies can be shown in Pakistan, there is a shift because that particular genre of movie making has to take a backseat. And in doing so, I think we are going through a transition, we're going through a transformation, we're trying to find newer voices, newer ideas, newer ways, newer genres to explore. And I think it's a great thing. I've always said that, again, it's not a competition, but we should find our own identity. Take the example of Iran. They were under great pressure, and their movies are made on shoestring budgets, but they have an impact. And I'm not saying that we should always make socially aware movies or socially relevant on socially relevant issues. I'm just saying that we have the ability and the talent to make movies and explore all genres. And I think that's what's happening in Pakistan, and I think it's a very, very, very welcome change.
Thank you very much for your talk. I found it really inspiring.
Thank you.
I just graduated with a math degree, and I'm hoping to become a filmmaker quite soon.
Wonderful. Cast me in your first movie, and we're in business.
So I'll be stealing your contact details after this as well. I wanted to ask though, how do you prevent being typecast or being the ethnic actor, particularly at the beginning of your career, when you don't necessarily have the luxury of choosing any role that you feel is
True. Yeah, I can only give you my example. What I did, I analyzed that situation, and when I started off, there weren't too many actors, as I said, in the business. And film and television was not where it was at, because the roles that were being written were very stereotypical. So in my case, what I did was that I became part of repertory theater. I worked for 7 years. I figured that if I could handle verse, if I could do Shakespeare, if I could understand period, if I could do Chekhov, if I could create that base, I would be okay. So for the first 7, 8, 9 years, I did a lot of theater. I was lucky enough to take on some really good Shakespearean roles. So that was my journey. Yes, now if the same thing is true today also. What do I do not to get stereotyped? And in that, what I need to do is I need to be my own guide, and I need to be very true to myself, which means that I need to know why I'm doing a certain project. There's certain projects I do because they make me good money. And I still try to do the best job that I can in those projects. It is a business, and what is going to happen is that if I play a bad guy, and if I play it well enough, the business dictates that if something sells, then let's keep putting that product out. The artist in me says, yeah, I can not only give you this product, I can give you many other products. So sometimes what I have to do is that if I do 2 roles or 3 roles which are similar, I will then take a break, and even if it's a kick in the wallet, I'll do something else. And I'll give you an example. This year, I have 4 movies coming out, as we said. I played the president of a space station in Elysium. I play a prisoner in an escape plan, and Stallone and Schwarzenegger and I try to break out of a prison. I have a 3rd movie called Torn coming out, which is about 2 families, one South Asian American, one Caucasian American, both losing their teenage boys in a shopping mall explosion, and it deals with the corrosion of relationships and the effect of investigations on people's lives when they're in a tragedy. And the 4th one is a supernatural thriller in which I'm a crazy guy in a straitjacket. So the point is that I have to make sure that I try to find that variety for myself. If I let myself go in one direction, then yeah, I can make a lot of money. But when I'm done, when I'm not the flavor of the month, then what happens to me? I have nothing else to show. Or by the same token, if I go in this direction, and if I can't create that money-making machine, then I'm doing myself a disservice. Yes, sir.
Farhan, it's a pleasure to hear you talk today. I heard you talk in D.C.
Oh, thank you.
So, thank you very much. You are a role model for the South Asian community, and I'm glad that you're sharing your talents with us. My question to you is this. It seems there are not that many South Asians acting in movies, Hollywood, whatever.
Yeah.
Have you thought about sharing your talent with some upcoming talent? Share yours.
I have always tried as much as I possibly can to lend a helping hand, because I know from my own experience when I got into it, not that people didn't want to lend a helping hand, there weren't too many people who could. So yes, but that onus also falls on the community at the same time, because we traditionally have a tendency with our children, and it comes from a very good place in our heart, to push them into areas where they can be secure. And there's nothing wrong. I have children, I understand that. But my point is this, that I've always believed that let your children try on new wings and let them fly. Because if you do a job just to pay your bills, that's what you're going to do. If you do a job because you love it, you might excel in it. And that's how you find the next Steve Jobs. That's how you find the next Oprah. That's how you find the next Spielberg. That support that we can get from our communities, from our families, from our loved ones, goes a long way. And I'm telling you that the day my parents said, go and do it, nothing could stop me. Not even the failures could stop me, because I knew that I had the support of the people that I loved. So I think it's a double thing. I will lend my hand, and And I'm hoping that we can also be a support to the people who want to do this at the same time.
Any further questions?
Just building up on what you just said right now, is there some way you can set up a forum, perhaps, to connect people from similar backgrounds who are willing to pursue?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what you have here, but in the U.S. we have certain forums. We have, this organization for South Asian actors. We have a bigger one that is for Muslim actors. We have another one that is for South Asian actors. So there are many different kinds of forums that are there that you could tap into and get support. Anybody and everybody who's ever written to me, I've always tried to direct them. And I'm always realistic, because we can't rely on being discovered in a telephone booth. First of all, there are no telephone booths left. So that's not going to happen. And the second thing is that if you really want to do this, then go out and get the necessary tools, so that when somebody throws something at you, you're not making excuses. That you have the ability, which is true for any field that you're in. You want to excel, you want to understand it, you want to get educated in it. So it goes both ways. Anyone else? Yes.
You talked about the artistic side and the challenges, but it is an industry.
Yeah.
And the financing of it
Mm-hmm.
is a major part.
Yes.
And what is it that we as a community could do to support the arts, not from the artistic
Yes.
side, but the financing?
That is an excellent question, a question that I have been dealing with lately very much, because we've been trying to create this business, basically, which will fund projects, not just South Asian projects, just projects. Because something that I was seeing a lot, which every time I would get a script from somebody, and it would be a brilliant script, what would happen is that we would talk about the storyline, would talk about the character they wanted me to play. But after the first 5 minutes, the question would go to, well, do you have the money to make this? And that's where all the breaks come, because we don't have the money to make it. Some of the best scripts, some of the best stories sit on the shelves forever and die. What we can do is create, again, not charitable institutions, but good, viable business opportunities. We can create films, we can create content that is commercial enough that will give you a tidy profit, and there are movies like that. What we have been trying to do lately is create a business where we will do, it'll be a mix of crowdfunding and investment banking, where you can bring your project, put it on there, and it will get the funds based on its merit. I'm hoping that this model will work for us. Which other communities have done, if we can create funds which people can tap into, we can do something very smart with it. What we can do is this, that if we create a fund and somebody makes a movie out of it, we can make it part of the deal that 10% of the profits have to go back, or whatever percentage, I'm just picking one, have to go back into the fund again and replenish the fund, so that the fund becomes a self-generating fund rather than a charitable funding situation. So we can create those kind of outlets for people, so that sometimes what that would do, that would spark someone to make something who's not even thinking of making it. So I think we can do that. We have the ability, we have the money. What it needs is a little bit of bravery and a little bit of ingenuity. That's all. Yes, sir.
Having starred in Star Trek, Elysium, do you enjoy science fiction?
I do enjoy science fiction. I do. It's not the only genre I enjoy, and I thought about that a lot, and this question has come up a few times lately, because of Star Trek Elysium, I do this TV science fiction show called Warehouse 13, and I was thinking, why do I like science fiction? I like science fiction because it is very theatrical. the stakes are very high. It's life and death. It's Shakespeare, kind of. And I love that. So that's part of it. The other part is that because I have a theater base, in theater you can stand in front of an audience and make them believe that there's a storm brewing behind you, although there's no storm. But it is by the way you present that storm is how you create that storm for them in the back. When you're doing science fiction, you're not working with the creature. You're working with a black balloon in front of a green screen. And you're taking your imagination and creating that creature in front of you and that whole life behind you. And that, to me, that taps into my theatrical training. So I think that's why I enjoy science fiction a lot. But by the same token, I enjoy, drama. I enjoy all of that. Lately, it's been, and you will see a lot of theater actors or are brought into science fiction a lot. And I think that might have something to do with it.
Let me quickly ask you two questions.
Sure.
One is, do you have any desire plans to go into directing maybe later on?
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, because frankly, are there plans for Captain Ravel and a spin-off series to go what before?
Okay, so do I have, yeah, I do want to get into directing and producing. I'm writing something right now myself. Actually, I'm adapting Anarkali into an English version of it, which I think can be quite fun to do. And I have another art heist movie that we are writing right now, which should be fun. The reason to go into that in that direction is because you can't wait for content to be created and then you getting in on it. You need to create your own content. I think that's a natural progression of where I need to be. I need to be able to call my own shots. So yes, Captain Robot, that has been, those rumors and that this conversation has been going on for a long, long, long time. It can happen. I think in soap operas and in science fiction, anything can happen. So nobody's dead, or we can go back in time, we can go forward in time. It's been on the table for a while. It's a question of, I would think, the way they have been looking at it is that if it could be a TV series rather than a film, because I think Star Trek, the ones that we have right now, have that corner, and it would be hard to kind of create something else. But yeah, I mean, that talk has been going on for a while. Yeah.
I think a general question about your career, but is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
That's a good question. Well, does it really matter? Because it has been, I mean, it's just like, yeah, I mean, there are times when I look at certain scenes and I go, you know what, God, I suck. And I could have done this better, I could have done, yeah, I mean, those regrets are there. And that is being a student all your life. That's looking at your own work critically and going, next time I want to try, or at least when I do my homework, I'm going to put 2 extra possibilities on the table for myself. So yeah, I mean, those regrets are there. No, I don't have regrets that as if like, oh God, I should have done this or that. I mean, that's beyond my control. Life has unfolded in its own way. What I'm really happy about is that I have been okay in keeping that balance between my artistic side and my personal life. And I've tried not to lose my core in the struggle. Yes?
It sounds like one of your values has been to be true to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
be aware of what your priorities are. And what else helped you in terms of your personality, do you think, to sort of succeed?
Creating some buffers. Learning that it's all very fleeting. And that I thank my parents, because they were in the business, so I got to see a lot of it. How to take your successes with humility and grace, and how to take your failures with grace and bravery. I think that is part of it. You create your buffers, you create some good friends, you try to create the best kind of family that you can, so that you can put things in perspective, because without those things in your life, it doesn't really matter how successful you are. If you're sitting on top of a mountain by yourself with no one to share, what's the point? What's the point? So I think that's something that I keep reminding myself all the time. When you don't get something and you come home and your kids are there, then I get to spend a little bit more time with my kids. So it's a win-win, really. Yeah. Yes.
Just a quick question. Obviously, you've covered London. I believe that you've obviously been quite involved with Open, obviously in the US.
Yeah.
So coming here and obviously sampling the British community, the British Pakistani community.
Yeah.
What's kind of your advice for us, and where would you like to see us go as an organisation, perhaps?
Look, I think just historically, England and South Asians, we have a much longer history. I think we have, I shouldn't say more opportunities, but we are more part of this society than we are in the US. I think we can make leaps and bounds here. The trick is going to be, how much do we come together? How much are we willing to actually help each other and not get into petty competitions and struggles, which is true here, there, everywhere else. I think, again, going back to the analogy of the mountaintop, when you look at a mountaintop from the bottom, it looks like a little pin. But when you get up there, you realize that there's enough room for all of us. So in general terms, I think that is the thing that we have to remember. We can help each other. I think we think that if you're not in the field, we can't help the other person. We can. I think there are many ways to help each other by becoming a really strong, well-knit community and helping each other. So I'm glad that there's an open chapter here, because I think we need that. And it is okay at times to not agree with each other. I think debate and discussion is part of it. We can't just surround ourselves with people who are of like minds. I think we need to be challenged and find those bridges that we have to make. So I'm hoping that this will. My feeling is that if you guys can do it here, this will end up being the best example of it, because this community has deeper tentacles, longer roots, and a richer history to form from. Yes, I'm sorry?
Did you have a role model?
Did I have a role model? My role model, my role models are people who take up challenges, and they don't need to be in my industry or in my field. People who are willing to go, you know what? I'm definitely going to give it a try. Those people are my role models, and that's why I didn't go too far in giving my examples from my family, because they were good role models. They had all the trials and tribulations, and they still forged forward. So those are the people, and I seek those people in different fields. They're Nobel laureates who are my role models, because they didn't say, but just because we can't find the answer today, we cannot find that answer tomorrow, and they kept going. So I look at role models in that context.
Do you have any plans to go back and do theatre in London, maybe?
Yeah. Theatre has always been a part of me. I was offered a couple of times to be here at the West End. The only issue that I've had so far is at that point, reality intruded. And slowly I won't have any reality to intrude. No, I'll be living in fantasy. No, things didn't work out. And I do want to come and do theater here. I think that would be a dream come true. I saw a hand somewhere up there, and then it slowly, no? Maybe I'm seeing things. Oh, here's one.
Do you think it's fair to say that you see Indian characters of Indian origin becoming a lot more mainstream? The character from Big Bang Theory, I think there was an Indian character in the internship. How far away do you think the Pakistani community is in the US? Do you think it's way forward?
Well, part of it is that, I think Indian community has done really well in promoting their people in the media. It also helps that Bollywood is a huge industry. So those are two big things. They do take their people when they're getting work. They're very good at making sure that the media hears about, or that people get to hear about it. And it's all about perceptions, really. It's all about the romance that you create with communities of people. I usually give an example that Italian Americans did an amazing job creating this romance, that even mafia becomes something that people are like, whoa, that's kind of cool. Although they are the most, the most devious and the most evil intended people at times, right? But it's that kind of a thing. So Pakistanis, I think we're getting there. I think it's, again, I go back to my original thing that let's help each other. I think we are living in a time where even wars are not won and lost on battlefields anymore. They're won and lost in media. So we need to understand the tools and the effect that media has. And we have to make sure that every time, not just an actor, but when a scientist or when a cab driver, when he or she does something good, we need to try and push it out a little bit. And I think when we start that cycle, we will see more and more and more Pakistani characters being assimilated into the mainstream.
Any more questions? Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us your inspiring journey. And this is just an appreciation.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks.
From Open London.
Thanks.